I'm Jake Garay from the Garay Michaud Team with Berkshire Hathaway, and you're listening to my podcast, Selling the Suburbs. I'm sitting down with real estate agents, investors, experts, and various professionals throughout the industry. On Selling the Suburbs, we're discussing the truth about real estate, entrepreneurship, and the ever-changing housing market. I'm actually glad we get to do this. I'm excited. Steve, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself? Introduce yourself so everybody knows who you are. Obviously, we work together, but why don't we hear a little bit about your story first?
My name's Steve, and that's pretty much all I got for you, Jake. So, thank you, man.
All right, thank you for coming. It's been a pleasure.
Let's get the fuck out of here.
So, obviously, you've been in the business of real estate for the last couple of years. You owned a restaurant.
Yep.
You're a CrossFit coach. What else do you do? Kind of crappy golfer.
Come on. Great golfer. Once we get those lessons this year, we'll be a lot
doing
better.
a little bit better.
We'll get that handicap down.
Yeah, but so tell us kind of like, where did you start? Mm-hmm. So you were in school, you get out of school. How's like your professional life look after what you did? Well,
it's kind of funny with that because I was the kid in high school. I always got good grades. It came pretty naturally.
Humble brag.
It came pretty naturally in the fact that I can get decent grades. I didn't have to. Chemistry was so fucking hard for me. So I just passed that class with 65. But for the most part, everything else was pretty good. I wasn't crazy on studying. It was one of those things I would look it over, and it was basically, if it's there, it's there, and we're just going to go for it.
I was kind of the same way. It was like,
I wasn't pulling the extra to kind of,
But if you're getting good grades, it was always like, you're doing what you can. And, for me, it was always, I was playing sports. So it was like, if the grades are good and you are doing well in sports, that's all.
Yeah, exactly. But in high school, by that point, you always hit that. You almost count all the years as a kid. I've literally been forced to be in school for this long. I can't wait to be out. I've had the dreams of going away to college, all that. And then literally my senior year came around and they let you do periods. I think I came in the second or third period and I was out by sixth period. That was it.
Yeah.
So you get lazy. You basically just do what you need to do to get by. And again, still got good grades, whatever it was. And I was late to applying to pretty much all colleges. And next thing you know, Dutchess Community College. So that was never the plan, but that was kind of the joke. But it was good because I did, now this is going to be, so how Dutchess Community College is a 2-year school, right? Might have taken me a little longer than that, all right? We might have been on the 4 or 5 year plan at Dutchess, but that's just how it went. I pretty much was just not interested in school.
Yeah.
Once senior year hit. I was just I thought I had these big plans to go to college. Obviously kids want to go to college to party. They're not looking to, you go to Ivy League schools, doctors, stuff like that. But, for the most part, friends that I had, they were going to have fun.
Right.
And just basically get past,
Get a degree and then go figure out what they want to do after the fact.
And a ton of them got degrees, and most of them, some use the degree in what they do, and some it's not even close, So it really depends. So I did 2, 4 or 5 years at Dutchess.
2 plus 2.
Yeah.
Plus an extra.
I basically did it to the point where I was all right, I needed a few credits, and I stopped for a couple of years. It wasn't I did it continuously for that. And then I was all right, I got to graduate this thing. Yeah. I even went to the Dutchess Community College graduation, cap and gown, the whole nine.
The whole thing.
Yeah, the whole thing. I was I'm not playing around.
You get your money's worth.
Yeah. I'm I got to do this. My now wife, she was there. We had pictures, I was this is almost awesome. I'm not trying to rag on anybody that's graduated from there, but this is almost a fun thing to do. Because
it's exciting.
Yeah,
you I
got my associate's degree in liberal arts. What the fuck are you going to do with that? But it's something.
Right.
I went because I was going to do criminal justice. I had plans to go that route. Then I switched to liberal arts. Then I was thinking criminal justice again, and I just kept it out. So
what was the goal? Did you have, everybody obviously had those things growing up that they were oh, I'd love to do this.
Yeah.
Right. Some people, they want to be, on Wall Street. Some people want to be a cop. Some people want to be a teacher.
Yeah.
Like, what did you ever have something that you were like, this is what I want to do when I'm 35? Obviously, it wasn't selling real estate.
No, it definitely wasn't selling real estate.
Because nobody says that when they're 15.
Nobody knows that. Yeah,
No.
exactly. Well, funny thing you ask, when I was in first grade, we had to do a presentation on what we want to be when we're older. And I would want to be president.
All right. Steve Wrobel is announcing his campaign for, what do you have to be, 35?
At least 35. Hey, I got like a
3
year and a half.
Yeah, there you go.
We're almost there.
So you can announce for 2028.
Yeah.
There we go. Announcing his campaign.
I don't know why that was a thing when I was younger. Like, if you know me by now, I'm very laid back. Like, that's literally not the job I'm going to be going for. You know what I'm saying?
Maybe you're who we need.
Yeah, right.
Somebody who's pretty chill and it's like, everybody just calm
chill,
down.
right?
Let's figure this out. Let's not fight with each other.
Oh man. So yeah, I wanted to be president in first grade. So yeah, that was pretty sweet.
So after you went and graduated, did you want to go to a 4-year school where you're looking to get, into a career? Like, what was the next step?
Yeah. So this was the tough part, right? Because then all the friends went away to school. I'd go visit them on the weekends, have fun, but I was doing the Duchess thing. I started the restaurant business now since I was 16. I was doing counter work, eventually moved to delivery, pizzerias mostly, got into restaurants more. So I was serving, bussing, doing all that kind of stuff. And then was doing that in my early 20s, and then finally graduated Duchess, did that. And I really, honestly, after high school, had no clue what I wanted to do. So I kind of just stuck with what I knew, and that was food. So I feel like sometimes us as human beings, we think way too much into what we want to do in life. And that's cool, but then you end up getting lost.
Yeah.
You're literally just bouncing around. You're not happy for a second at your job, and you're literally like, I don't want to do, you know what I'm saying? So,
well, it's like you end up thinking so much like, what do I want to do, that you almost have like analysis paralysis where you don't do anything.
And that's exactly
and you're like
where
afraid to try things because you are like, well, what if I do this and it's not the thing that I like? In reality, it's like, well, you could just switch and do something else. Exactly. But everybody always talks about that. I mean, I just asked you, like, what did you want to do with your life? And it's like you're asking people when they're 14, 15 years old, and they're asked that repetitively over and over again. And then it's like all this pressure, and you're like, I don't want to mess it up.
No, exactly. And you're also told, right? We all know this. You're told all the time that you got to find out what you want to do. You're going to pick something in college. Like, in reality, you should literally, like, college should be at like from 26 to 30. You know what I'm saying? Once you go out,
and I always said this too, like you should go work like 6-month internships or go work in a job for 5, 6. I mean, after 6 months, you're going to know if you're enjoying it to some extent or not. So it's like, go work in 3 or 4 fields, try out a bunch of different stuff before you go and find out that, like, hey, I just went to 4, 6, 8 years of school and I actually hate this.
No,
and I'm miserable.
I have a friend that did that.
But then you're $200,000 or $300,000 in debt, and then you don't know what you want to do. Yeah. And it's like, you feel like you're trapped in that because.
Exactly. And again, you need to make money and stuff, but I wish in my early 20s, someone wasn't like, you need to figure out what you want to do with your life, and just said, like, go travel. My parents were always laid back, for the most part, but I wish it was just like, go travel, go do what you want to do. Obviously, you need to make money. So like you work a job, you do all that, but I could have done that anywhere, tried anything, you know? And then when you figure out, holy shit, I kind of like this one thing. Does it need schooling? One. And if it does, now I can go
and get it.
The
and maybe you don't. Maybe you just need a mentor or something.
Yeah. But to tell kids out of high school, like, what are you doing with your life? Like, get the hell out of here.
Yes. It's crazy.
Yeah.
So you went into the restaurant industry. So what year was it? Like, right around what time did you actually start? Like, what was the impetus for, like, hey, I'm going to go into business for myself, open up my own restaurant?
So that was another thing. Growing up all the time, I had no problem with authority. I just didn't like the idea of people telling me what to do. Parents are one thing, but even like teachers, any little thing. It's as stupid as me driving down the road a little too fast, and you see like that person that's walking that just gives you that sign, Someone just did that to me the other day. I'm gonna be 34, and I literally wanted to get out and punch him. It was like an old man, and I didn't think I was going too fast. It's my own neighborhood. I'm a grown man, and I'm like, get the fuck out of here. Like, don't give me that shit. Just get your ass on the side of the road, But so it was more, it was getting to the point where I was going to be, I think I was 24. think I was 23 or 24. And again, all my friends just graduated college. They were coming home, finding jobs. And here I am delivering pizza and doing counter work at Umberto's at the time, which I worked there for a bunch of years. I actually tried to change it up. My dad is a manager at all the ShopRites. He's been doing that for 20 years. And he got me a job at one in Carmel. I did that for 6 months, and I definitely could have done the fast track, move up and did all that. I did it for 6 months, and I was like, how the fuck do you do this? Yeah, like this is not happening for me. Yeah. Again, they pay great, but I'm just not doing that.
Yeah, it's a personality thing. Yeah. Right? Like
for sure.
You seem like the type of person that you want to be working towards something, and it's like for yourself.
Exactly.
You know, where it's like, and I can relate to that whole thing. And it's, you know, people call it problem with authority. It's I think personally, it's more of like, you just want to have that control or that freedom to kind of like do what you want to do. Yeah. You know, so that's why obviously you've had a bunch of different careers where you're kind of working for yourself.
Yeah, exactly.
So it kind of makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely. So that was the main thing. So then we got the opportunity. I had a good friend growing up. He went to the culinary, did his 2 years. He was working for another lady and running one restaurant, which turned into two. And then it all kind of just happened, right? My uncle's, you know, pretty wealthy, and he owns buildings and whatever. And he was looking at one in the village of Wappingers. And my dad kind of got him onto it and was like, you know, what about this building? And he decided, and he basically was like, I'll buy this. Do you want to do a restaurant? Because we've talked about it in the past. Wow. Yeah. So I was like, well, I'm going to need a chef. So I kind of just asked my friend Anthony, I'm like, I know you don't want to do what you're doing, like for this lady working. Why don't we,
work for yourself?
Work for yourself.
Own your own
Once
thing.
he was on board, we just went with it.
Wow.
So my uncle purchases the building. He actually fronted most of the labor and the work. Obviously, we paid it back in a pretty steep rent, you know. Shouldn't say steep, but you know, we paid it back in rent.
What it should have been. Yeah.
But he fronted all of it, and I'm still grateful for that. It was an awesome opportunity for a young kid in their 20s.
And you were how old?
23, 24.
That's incredible.
Yeah. We opened up April of 2014 and we closed fall of 2019. So we were like 5.5 years in. So I literally think I was 23, like we were open a month and I turned 24 or something like that. Yeah. And I literally, like I said, I've been working for how many restaurants for people. And then all of a sudden it's like, holy shit, you got to do this on your own. Yeah. Now you got all these people in here like, oh, you got to be authoritative. You got to do this, you got to do that. And I'm just kind of like, you know, you just find your way. And there was tons of shit now that I would do completely different.
Of course.
In those 5-6 years that I was there. I wish I was a little more, I was very laid back, which is always the way I'm going to be. But I definitely could have been a little more authoritative. I've given people a ton of opportunities I probably shouldn't, but it's all right. It is what it is. You know, you learn. I was in my 20s and all of a sudden I'm handed this thing.
Incredible.
Yeah. So we did it. It was a good time, great experience. It really helped me. It did two things. I'm a big people person. Growing up, it was always friends. Everyone was hanging out. It's all we did. It wasn't like we were stuck indoors, maybe like it is now. I don't know. I don't have kids yet, but it was always groups of friends getting out there doing things. So that was like the restaurant. You have all these people coming in, bar scene at night. People were loving the food. You know, it was just the whole thing, but it also puts it in your face every day, right? And now you got to be on every day.
Yeah, because if you upset someone, if you're in a bad mood.
And if I come in and there's days where I just don't want to be bothered and I have to be in the front of the restaurant, my office was behind the bar. You know, I had this little closet office. You know how many fucking Harry Potter jokes I got a day? Like literally all the time. And like after like 5 years, I was just like, you know, like you can't put the fake face on. I honestly loved it, but then hated it. It made me more and less of a people person, if that makes any sense at all. Because it was literally just like when you weren't in the mood, you still had to turn it on. But the one thing I do miss, and nothing against anybody that's come to the restaurant, but I had regulars throughout, people that would frequent. Like I miss those people. I had great conversations, good relationships, and I don't even see any of them anymore. You know, you literally just closed the restaurant and that was what you had in common with a lot of people. Like, you know, so.
Yeah, that's crazy. I mean, food is such like a social thing. Yeah, you know, it's drinks, like like ingrained in our DNA for thousands of years. So it's like you know, build great friendships and relationships over food, drinking, hanging out, just socializing. So
Yeah, for sure.
But I totally understand what you're saying. I mean, it's funny because, I mean, you went into obviously CrossFit, and we'll get into that in a second, but then like being in real estate, it's a lot of the same stuff, right? Because you can't just like run and hide from your clients. Like you got to be on when you go and meet with them. If you're meeting somebody for the first time, you only get one chance at a first impression. So it's like,
that's a big one. So you have to be on then, right? So if you're having a bad day, I mean, at least, and sometimes you're only with them for what, 15 minutes, half an hour. So you got to just make sure like, all right. And I'll even notice sometimes if I'm being a little stale, I'm like, all right, what am I doing here? Like, all right, I gotta
crack
up
a
this
joke
a little
or
bit.
something.
Yeah.
Steve, I'm going to be honest. I'm having a terrible day right now.
Yeah, right.
No, I'm just kidding. But no, it's true. It's like, you got to, and that's the thing. Like you've got to be able to separate like your personal life from your professional life, right? Like whatever's going on at work, you don't want to bring home with you. Yeah. And whatever you got going on at home, you don't want to bring to work. Yeah. Because quite frankly, your clients don't care if, you had a fight with your wife this morning before you left the house. Like they don't care. They got to go buy a house or sell a house.
They need
you to be on and know what you're doing and be able to have a clear mind and guide them. So it's definitely a people business.
Yeah,
but
for sure.
So after the restaurant, when did you start the coaching at CrossFit?
So the coaching happened, let's say it was fall 2020.
Okay. So it was like restaurant and then CrossFit and real estate were kind of like simultaneous then, pretty close.
Because I started CrossFit in 2016. So I was already doing it.
So you were training and then you decided to become a coach.
Yeah, exactly. So when I closed the restaurant, it gave me like clarity in a sense. Like I knew I needed to do something different. I had its run. It was good. People still to this day talk about the food in the restaurant, the drinks. Get asked
I went there. I liked it.
Yeah. People still, which is awesome to hear. But I just knew at one point, I was like, this isn't for me.
Right.
This is a tough life. Like this, you have no life. I was overweight. You can make every excuse in the book, but I was overweight. I wasn't happy. And then all of a sudden I closed and I had all this free time and it was like, holy shit. So naturally you kind of get into training a little more. I was, let's say 2019 fall, we close up. I knew in my head, I was like, I've always liked real estate. That was there. I was like, I'm going to give myself about a month to just have off. Decompress, just a month, do what I want to do, whatever that is. And then, my wife was on board at the time. And then I was going to start the online stuff for real estate. So I honestly got through that pretty quick from the online to actually taking the state exam was literally like 2.5 months.
Wow. That's fast.
Yeah. I had all this free time. I'm like, I can't be the guy that's doing like a chapter a week and the next thing you know, it's April.
What drew you to be like, okay, I've been training for 3.5, 4 years. What made you decide to want to actually become like a trainer, like actually coach people?
Gotcha. Okay. Well, all right. So I take it back. I didn't start coaching in 2020. It was 2021.
Okay.
So that was the big difference. So I've always done the CrossFit thing, right? And I was always like in the middle, mediocre. I would do it to like maintain what I was doing. I'd still have a shitty diet and all that stuff. So after COVID hit, to me, COVID was either a wake-up call or it literally destroyed you. Yeah. And for me, it was a wake-up call. So some people went the opposite route. For me, it was all up from there. So as much as COVID fucking sucked for everybody, it was a good thing for me. Yeah. Which is kind of, so I literally.
Well, it was like it was the mindset. Wake up call. Yeah. It was like, it was the realization that like, hey, I got to change things. That was, it's not like you're saying that.
No. Exactly. It was an amazing time.
No. But it's, you know what? It's sometimes it takes, I don't want to say like an existential crisis, but like something big to shake you and be like, hey, you got to wake up. Like this is what's going on. Like figure it out. And to your point, sometimes, depending on where you are in your life, it doesn't always do that for people. Sometimes they go the other way and they say, oh my gosh, and they feel paralyzed.
A ton of people have gone the other way.
Yeah, but you know what? There'll be something else that'll be that wake up call for them. There'll be something that'll come along, or maybe it takes you going the wrong direction to hit rock bottom
and realize,
before you get to that point. Yeah. So
that's kind of, got sick with COVID right when it started. And just, I remember the feeling afterward of just like, we were walking up the hill because you had all this time off too, right? Because there's nothing to do, everything's closed. And then walking up the hill out of breath. And I'm like, all right, enough's enough. So I started getting into fitness more that summer. And then I started fall of 2020. I was like, fuck this, I'm done. I'd started 75 Hard, which is a program now I've done 3 times.
Was this the first time you did that?
First time I did it. And I was about like, I remember weighing first day 245 pounds. It's 75 days. And I was down to 213 by the end of it.
Wow.
And I haven't looked back since. So that was like a big mindset change on me. And then from there, I still had some time. Obviously, I'm still doing CrossFit. Everything's good. Dave, who owns the gym, who I'm really good friends with, was basically always kind of leaning towards asking me like, hey, do you want to coach? Because I've been there. And then it kind of just came about. He kind of talked about it. And eventually I was like, you know what? I think it's a good idea. So you had to go get your level 1, which you like do a weekend away through CrossFit, and then just got right into it. That was like fall of 2021. And now it's been a year and a half. And it's been going well.
Haven't looked back.
Haven't looked back. I'm going in for my level 2 in a couple months.
That's awesome.
Yeah, just to get more experience and like know a little more, because there's only so much you can do.
Just taking yourself to that next level, growing,
Exactly.
you know?
Yeah.
So like, was there anything specific about coaching that was appealing to you? Or was it just like, hey, I feel like this will help me become like better as a person? Or, you know, were you like, do you like coaching with people? Or was it more about like trying to open up your mindset to be able to do other things and like have a better understanding of everything?
I think it was that. I wanted to have a better understanding for sure. I definitely like the idea, because in my head, I'm like, if I can make money off of this, not even to say like I do enjoy coaching, but I did the same at the restaurant. Right. I had a decent sized staff, 15, 20 people. And that was literally what I was doing.
Right.
Like coaching people, like dealing with them all day. So when it was at the gym, I just did the same thing. It was kind of like, all right. And I actually enjoy it. It's kind of annoying because the money's in the private, in the single client, but I enjoy the groups better.
Setting.
Yeah, I like the bigger classes. You know, I like coaching, you know, multiple people, getting all different people together, you know, to do. And I'm not even my coaching is laid back. Everything's always laid back. I'm not a guy. I'll scream like a little bit and do stuff, but I'm not like, you know, yelling at people, and it's not like a boot camp style workout, you know?
You only scream after you duck hook one into the trees on a par 5.
I only throw clubs on the golf course, which is supposed to be which is supposed to be like the one time you're in Zen is golf, but it's actually the most
that's
frustrating thing in life.
It's not how it works.
Yeah, exactly.
So
I guess real quick, everything I've done has always been group settings. As kids, we were always all together, sleepovers, playing, whatever you want to say, hanging out. And then it just kept going, right? All of a sudden, I'm attracted to the restaurant life. Everybody's working closely together. Some of like the best people, most people I have fun with are people that are, I consider friends, but I see literally once every few months, are restaurant people that I just get together with, and they're just like the best time ever.
Yeah.
Like there's just something about these different groups. And now at the gym, we do tons of events at the gym, competitions, events. We do all this. And as a coach, like I'm more involved now. And that's like a whole nother community. Right. And then like now with real estate, that's a whole nother community as well. Like, so I just have all these different groups and all this, I guess, like fun times in a sense.
Yeah. Well, it's, you know, just building relationships with people, and
exactly.
It's so much more enjoyable to like be in an environment where it's encouragement, positivity, all of that stuff, as opposed to just feeling like you're on your own.
Yeah.
I mean, going back to with like the pandemic, that's what happened. Everybody got so isolated.
Yeah.
And so I feel like the people who like sought out that like sense of community fared much better than the people who just like locked themselves in a house and just didn't see anybody for months and months and months.
Which to me is still nuts. I totally get the being scared, but I'm just saying to like, to even now, like people that are just like, oh yeah, I just started, you know, like whatever. I'm like, we're so far past this. Like you gotta be around people. That's why it fucked so many people up, this whole thing. And we get people coming into the gym even now that felt the effects of that.
Right.
I mean, that's also gym business, you know?
And it's just not, I mean, it's not good for your mental health or your overall health to just be away from people and just not be doing anything. Like you got to keep moving. You got to keep, you know, getting into, you know, like I said, a sense of community and just getting, I mean, we're very like, if you think about people, like humans, like we're very tribal, right? Like we build cities because we all want to be together. We want we all like that local coffee shop where the barista knows your first name and you can go in. It's like everybody likes that type of community. You like you said in the restaurants, right? Like you go in, you see your regulars, you have your spots that you go to constantly because you know the waiter, the waitress, or the bartender, or the hostess, whatever the case may be. Like people like that. It makes you happier. So like, why would you want to take yourself away from that?
No, it's nuts. And again, you have so many people that are like enjoying this sedentary, I'm at home, I don't have to leave. And I'm literally like, it's not for me. You know what I'm saying? Like I just don't even get that. I get the convenience of working from home if you have to travel to the city, but I'd rather go do the traveling. I'd rather just be out there and
and I think it's
enjoying
like,
it.
For some people, it's like, yeah, you may want to work from home because it allows you to do what you got to do and just get it done with. Yeah. But then those people, I think, still enjoy going out at night, going to the, the social things, going on the weekends with friends. Like nobody, I don't think, wants to just completely, lock themselves off from the world and like not see anybody. It's just everybody's got a different lifestyle and everybody's got a different, approach to things. Yeah. Like some people I know that are like, I don't want to talk to anybody. I just want to work for 8 hours. I don't need that social aspect at work because I've got it everywhere else. Yeah. And then other people, like I've always been the type of person that I enjoy like being friendly with everybody that I work with, hanging out outside of work. Like I like to kind of, like some people like separation. And for me personally, I like everything to kind of be more of like a communal sense where it's like, hey, the people that I work with, I want to maintain good relationships. I want to know about like your family, what you got going on in your life and all that stuff. Same sort of way that you are, where it's like, it becomes much more, I think you can have a better understanding of someone as a person if you know what's going on in their life. Yeah, for sure. Right. And I think you have a better chance of like, look, we may not see eye to eye on a lot of stuff, right? If like everybody, right? You might have a disagreement, but it's like, if you understand where that person's coming from, then it's so much easier to be like, yeah, I might not agree with them on this thing, but you know what? I love them and I know they're dealing with this and it's all of that. Yeah, it's like where you're like, oh, it's so easy to be like, forget that guy. I don't like Steve. I don't like so-and-so just because you don't know anything that's about them as a person. Yeah, it's true. You know what I mean? So it's, for me, it's like the more you know about someone, the better you get to know someone and you know who they are as a person. You're just going to be in a better situation to just be more understanding and be more, I don't know, likable, I guess. Absolutely. So it's easy to brush people off is basically. Yeah. It's easy to just be so focused on yourself that you don't care about anybody else, what's going on. Yeah. The people do that a lot too. Yeah, for sure. So you're doing, now you're coaching with CrossFit. Yep. So tell, what led you to like real estate? Obviously you said your uncle owned some investment properties. Mm-hmm. Obviously you were in the restaurant business, which, is very heavily tied to real estate. The restaurants that are in the best locations typically do the best. Yep. So like what made you decide like, hey, I want to go out and actually sell real estate? Like, was it just something that you're like, you know what, let me try it out, see where it goes? Or so, I guess I was like the classic person. So what I did, I bought a house right at the end of 2018. So literally less than a year later, I bought a house and literally a year later I was getting my license. You know what I'm saying? Which happens all the time. Yeah. So I did it, and you're on Zillow so much and you're just enjoying seeing the houses and you're just constantly looking. So then all of a sudden when you actually find the house, it's amazing. But then you're like kind of still on Zillow and you're like, oh, like what else is out there? What deals are there? So that was something. And I had a family friend that did it. I had an aunt that did it for forever. And I kind of just like, I was like, I could do that. Like that seems like a thing to do. Enjoy. Yeah, exactly. And it is kind of funny. I feel like there is some sort of, I don't know if it's an inside joke or cliche. You've seen like GIFs and memes about like restaurant people or something, like all of a sudden the next day it's like, hey, I'm a real estate agent, come buy or sell. But, well, now you're seeing them all where the market's changing and it's like, oh, all those realtors are going back to being bartenders and waiters, right? 100%. Which is true. But it's, I mean, there's a parallel between like the restaurant industry and the real estate industry in the fact that it's a very heavily like a people person, right? Yeah. Like you're just constantly dealing with people. But I always laugh because, I mean, I kind of got involved in the same thing, where the sense it was like, hey, why don't you get your license, see where it goes? Yeah. It's not like, I'm not like, I feel like most people don't get licensed and they're like, this is what I'm going to go do. I'm going full time tomorrow. Yeah. And this is the start of my career. Like most people kind of ease their way into it. But it's so funny to hear and talk to people where they're like, oh yeah, I like houses.
Yeah.
So I was like, it's a cool thing to get into because like I like kitchens and design and it's like, that's such a small part of what we do. Like,
oh, for sure.
Guess what? You're going to hate 60% of the houses that you sell, or you're not going to like them, or like you're going to think certain aspects of them aren't nice.
Yep.
But it's not, it's more like sales than it is like design or like home appreciation. And so it's just funny because so many, all the time you hear when you talk to agents.
Because again, and know what I still do as an agent? I will just sit there on one key and I will just look at
houses all day long.
I'll look at the $25 million, anything above $1 million. I'm like, wait, what does this get you in this county? What is this? And I'll literally, and my wife will catch me and be like, why are you staring at this house? I'm like, well, one day, obviously I plan on selling one of these. Right. Or multiple of these.
Or maybe buying one.
Yeah. Or buying one. Right. Yeah. But that's just something I still love to do. But it is funny you say it because that's literally why you get in. You're like, I like houses. They're good. But then you're absolutely right. You can't even say 60. You'd probably say like 80 to 85% are just like houses you want nothing to do with.
Well, it's
nothing against, just we all have different tastes.
100%. But it's also like, I think what's really cool about it is you start to get an appreciation for maybe not your style. So like you might see something that like you might have more of a traditional style, but you see something that's super modern. And you're like, I wouldn't buy that. Or I wouldn't design that, but it's like really cool. Yeah. Right. It's like, it's very interesting. It's very unique. It has a story. So you have a better appreciation of it, which I think makes you a better agent too. When like you understand and appreciate, like so much of what we do is putting ourselves in our clients' heads, really. It's like trying to understand what they're looking for or what's important to them. And, it's funny because I do the exact same thing. I'll be like, oh, $25 million house in Bedford. Like, let me look at this. Exactly. What's $5 million in Scarsdale get you? It's
dude,
like
all the time.
And it's cool to see. And then you're looking at it and you're like, oh, that bathroom's horrible. And it's like, it's 5 times the size of my bathroom, but I'm criticizing it.
I'll be that snobby person. I'll be like, this house $100 million, there's no pool. Like, what the fuck is this about? But at that kind of money, that's like literally pulling out $20 for somebody and dropping a pool in. Yeah. But that's like the way I'm thinking.
That's crazy. So dude, obviously you're going on year 3 or in year 3 now?
I'm in year 3. So I'm coming into year 4.
Year 4. Okay. Because it was 2019 and 2020.
Yeah. So sorry. It was just January 2020. So now we're 3 full years. We're in our 4th.
Gotcha.
Yeah. Which is crazy.
Yeah, that is crazy.
Yeah. But,
so what do you think so far?
It's good. It's one of those businesses. Again, we all bullshit about like part-timers. You really can't be part-time. Unless that is your goal. You have a main job and you want to sell to a family member once a year. Totally cool, right? Do a part-time. But if you come into this...
I have opinions about that.
Well, that too.
We can get into that.
I meant some people just like that. Not saying it's good for us. Us as full-time realtors, we want all the part-timers out. In reality, it's just like, get out of here.
Well, I think in my opinion, it's less about like... I don't care if someone, to me, I'm always very much like expectation has to match reality. Yeah. And it's like, if you're okay with doing a couple of deals a year and that's what you want, and that's totally 100% fine. And I'm not saying there's not a place in the industry for that person, but it concerns me when I think about the client. Yeah. And I think about like, hey, you're hiring someone to work on your biggest investment that you've ever made, right? $500,000, $1 million, whatever it is. And this person is completely out of touch with the reality, right? They're out of touch with the market. If you're someone who's part-time, but you study the information and the data and you're knowledgeable, that's fine. That's totally good.
Yeah, I agree.
It's just when this person, like, and we know because we deal with these people and it's like, they overprice the house and then it sits on the market and then they've got to do price reductions and then they end up selling it for less, or they don't properly stage it, or they take iPhone photos, or the bathroom mirror selfies. We've seen those ones, right? And it's like, you're costing your clients money. So as long as you're not doing that, if like you're actually providing good advice and you're actually, guiding your clients in the right way, by all means, you could sell one house a year. It doesn't matter. It doesn't affect us. It's just, I never want to end up in a situation, or I hate when I hear like people have bad, experiences with realtors, and then it gives us a bad name because they think everybody's the same when they're not. It's not like every person that you work with is going to give you the same exact experience. So it's like, I'm fine with you doing whatever you want to do. Just don't don't give us a bad reputation because you're doing unethical things or you're misguiding your clients. That's what drives me crazy.
Because you do it so little.
Right.
But there is, and again, we come into the thing where it's like you still have a bunch of full-time people who will definitely give a bad taste for everybody.
Oh,
but that's
100%.
in any job, though.
100%.
But I agree. When when it's like a part-time person, it's more personal.
Well, it's just like, you're absolutely right, because a part-time, it's not really part-time or full-time. It's just like, I guess the big thing is like, just do your research before you hire anybody, whether it's a family member. I just think real estate, it's so common to see people be like, oh, my friend is a realtor. My cousin, my aunt, my mom's, best friend. And it's like, just because you know that person doesn't mean that they're the right person to work with you.
Yeah, absolutely.
You want to make sure you're working with someone who's really going to like take good care of you and like make sure you do the right thing.
Yeah, for sure.
So obviously you got in with another company. What was like did someone tell you that like, hey, you should do this? Or was it like, hey, I just want to do it, and then you kind of just like sought it out? Or
you're talking about the company or like
no, just in general, just getting into real estate.
No one really told me. It was kind of my own idea, if that's what you're asking. And I just went for it. I had goals. I said I need to get this done in 2-3 months. Got it. And then I didn't go for the high name brand, like necessarily what I'm on now, because I wanted a more laid back kind of feel. And I knew this guy who owned his own, and through the restaurant, went to him, and he's honestly still like, he's one of the nicest guys. I would give his shirt off your back,
And built a very successful company.
Yeah, and built a very successful company. And he took me right in, and I trained with him. And that's the crazy part about it is, I get my license end of January. I literally train with him like all of February, follow him around, I'm in car with him, listen to him answer phones. He's teaching me everything. And then March, everything gets shut down. And I'm literally like, I just started this career and here comes COVID. So no March, no April. May was still nothing. And then June, it started picking up. People didn't really know what to do. There were still realtors obviously doing some business in between when they weren't supposed to. But again, who am I? And then my issue was I was so new that all of a sudden when the market just went on fire, and I would say probably June, July, people were like, this is crazy. I'm getting so much business. I was so new. I was literally just sitting there with my head spinning, just like, I don't know what I'm doing. Like, and I'm like, and I don't know how to get leads. Like, how do I do this? So the company I was with, you're on your own. Yeah. And don't get me wrong, he gave me leads, but you're on your own, and all these other realtors that have been in the game even a few years to the veteran ones, they're just absolutely killing it, because this is just like on fire for them.
There was a big misconception with COVID that was like, hey, anybody in real estate is just going to do really well. Yeah. And it's just not the case. Like if you weren't established, the last 3 years and honestly, like the 12 months leading into COVID even was super competitive. And people think it was just COVID.
I was in a bidding war on my house. When that was in 2018.
Yeah,
people
exactly. That's where we started to see it change.
Prices were down significantly. Correct. Don't get me that. But it was still bidding wars, and people don't believe that. They're like, oh, you must have got a deal. I was like, yeah, I got a deal technically for what the market's.
But not at the time.
Yeah, but exactly.
At the time, you probably thought you were overpaying.
Oh, exactly. At the time, I was like, holy shit, like this is.
That's always how it goes. Yeah. Everything always looks better 5 to 10 years looking back.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
But it's for anybody who got in the business who think it was going to be a cakewalk. It wasn't. It was the last 3-4 years, because in the beginning, you're typically working with buyers. Yeah. And it's like, you're going out and you're losing bidding war after bidding war after bidding war. So it's like, it's very frustrating. It's very discouraging. Right now is a much better time to get started, even though it's still a very busy market. Yeah. And the market may be quote unquote down in terms of number of transactions, which as a realtor, you get paid on transactions. So like a lot of people's businesses are down, not ours, but, but a lot of people's are. And what ends up happening is you get discouraged, but right now it's a great time to start, because it's like you can start in a little bit more of a normal, so to speak, market where it's still competitive, but you can build more of like a foundation as opposed to like just being a free for all for the last 3 years. Yeah. So it's crazy. But so obviously you've been on with us for what, a year?
Yeah, we're
what was your, do you know?
No, literally it's this month. So it's a year.
We got to find out the exact day.
I know, we need the exact day.
We have a party.
So it's been a year.
So it's been a year.
Yep.
Obviously you hate it.
Yeah, terrible.
But no, thinking about like, you know, looking towards the future and thinking about, obviously we talk about this, you know, how I think about my business. I'm thinking about it 10, 15, 20 years from now.
Yeah.
You know, like what are your like where do you want to be in 5 years? Like what's next? Like where do you see either the business going, the industry going, you going? Like what's the future hold for Stephen Wrobel Jr.?
I envision, right, you know, just like you do, the future, but I guess like next 5 years. I mean, right now I'm just planning on getting busier and busier. Like during COVID, I really had 6 months. I still did a handful of deals. It was still good. And I was like, okay, like here's this new guy doing some deals. Yeah. The next year comes around, boom, 2021, I double that. Next year comes around, I double that number from there. So now I'm like, okay, this is clearly working. Something's working here. And it's tough with real estate because sometimes you're like, do I have a job? You know, like, especially if you're just in like a lull, you're like, what am I doing right now? You definitely question a lot. So I'm just, again, trying to get busier and busier every year and just trying to build it. I've realized it now. That's why I made the switch to the team, is because I was like, I want to treat this like a career. So basically I was sitting at home a lot, there was no real estate events. There was no nothing, right? I did something here and there. So I was like, let me go to a team, and a good team at that, get the business. I really wanted to learn more. So I'm like, if somebody's been in for a long time, I can learn, do all that. And then now it's like, we're doing more real estate events. We go, you know, we just do so much more together. There's an office atmosphere. It's just been, again, more of a career now instead of a hobby, I should say. So that's been the big change for me. And I'm hoping moving forward, it stays that way.
Yeah. And that's the goal. Mm-hmm. Obviously, you know, outside of real estate, you probably want to become a better golfer. No, but in all seriousness, I mean, obviously there's more goals than just, you know, we talk about business a lot. But you know, just outside of real estate, there's obviously other things that everybody's trying to accomplish and achieve. And obviously, as you talked about with CrossFit, you're working on that as well. I mean, I guess if we were to ask like one question, like well, I guess let me put it this way. What are some of the other things that you like to do? I mean, we talked about golf briefly. Obviously you're married. Mm-hmm. Got a great wife at home. I mean, is there any other, like anything else we should know about you?
Honestly, it's pretty straightforward, right? It's the gym, it's real estate. I do have a wife at home. We plan on having kids in the, you know,
so that's the big
soon.
One. Eventually have some kids.
Yeah, eventually have some kids. I'll get to experience that, which is awesome. And and golf, honestly, it sounds crazy to some people, but I've been golfing since I was like 14. I should be way better than I am now. But it is one of those things where like we could play when we're 80.
Right.
And it is a great relationship builder. It's one of those sports that's really not going to, like, the way we play, it's not going to do anything to your body, right? No. Like you could literally play it at any age. Yeah. So like just
don't get me started on golf now, Steve.
Yeah, no.
I'll talk. We'll need to do another hour on golf.
So I guess
alone.
The real goal is here, right, would be to get really busy, right? Put the work in with real estate, get it automated. So until we get to a point where we buy a golf course.
Oh yeah. Now you're
there
talking.
We go. And then we're hanging out and we're golfing most of the time.
Would you ever open up another restaurant?
People ask me that all the time. It's something that could happen in the future. Right now, I would say in the next 10 years, no. I might, if somebody came to me with an opportunity and they wanted possibly like a partner thing, like where I wouldn't have to be there much or like once in a while, I would think about it. But I don't know where, but unless I'm putting money into it, there's really, I guess, no value for somebody to do that. So I don't know.
So we got to, get you to the point where you're selling a bunch of real estate and then you could financially fund a restaurant.
Right, a restaurant. I'd actually more rather do the bar thing, a bar with like some food. That's always been, if I ever open anything, I already have like the way I'd want to do it.
Margarita Mondays?
Yeah, exactly. Margarita Mondays, anything. Yeah.
No, so so long story short, we've got to sell a bunch of houses so we can buy a golf course and then you can open up a bar at the golf course.
Exactly. There we go. And honestly, an office on a golf course with a bar.
Oh my God,
is the ultimate goal. And honestly, I dream about buying the one on Route 9, Duchess.
The old Duchess Country Club.
It's there. The massive building there. It could literally be bar, restaurant, golf course, office
That would
for
be
our
so
real
sweet.
estate in the same. How many people would roll through there and there's our real estate office?
That's genius.
It's
I
literally
love that idea.
It's out of control. I mean, and jokes aside, like that's a serious goal. Like that would be awesome.
I'm in. That sounds amazing.
That place is just going to waste, and it's been for years. It's been someone's office, which is insane to me.
It is crazy. So, no, well, I'm glad we did this. I
Yeah.
think this is a good time to
for
wrap
sure.
it up.
No, it was awesome.
And thanks for coming.